Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we chop it up in slow motion about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It is early today. For some reason I got a lot of energy, so let's jump in before that fades. Mitch, I heard you've been playing an awesome game that I also need to check out. What you been playing, man?
Yeah, awesome in my opinion, but looking at the Steam reviews, not so awesome according to other people. But I'm gonna stick with my opinion on this one, and that game is Back for Blood, which is essentially by its name a clone of Left 4 Dead, which is one of the popular horde first-person shooters that came out and developed by Valve. This one, Back for Blood, was developed in 2021, and it's obviously, like I said, a first-person horde shooter, like I like to call it, and it's developed by Turtle Rock Studios and published by Warner Brothers Games. So, for those who've never played Left 4 Dead, I know we've talked about it here on the show a little bit when Mike was playing some of the user-created content. It's primarily a player versus environment game mode, or a type of game where in this game, your characters are called cleaners. They're post-apocalyptic survivors who are trying to basically make their way through and escape all of these zombies that are coming at them, and it gets pretty hectic, just like it does on Left 4 Dead. The zombies in this game are called the Ridden, and I actually shout out to my buddy John. I know I shout him out a lot on this podcast, but he sent me a video about it because him and I are the ones that are mainly playing this right now, and I was very curious where the Ridden name came from, or I guess the lore behind Back 4 Blood, which they do provide. And I thought it was interesting, like these people, or I guess the apocalypse started and all these people turned into zombies by a bug called the devil worm. And this devil worm goes inside the human body and just takes them over and, makes them this flesh-eating zombie that, wants nothing else but then to turn other people into the same thing.
Gross.
Which, I mean, it's a little different take on, the whole zombie transformation.
Yeah, I'm watching the footage right now. There's a really cool-looking boss that they're fighting. Huh.
Yeah, so all of them are called the Ridden, and there's a ton of variants that are in the game as well, and John and I were making jokes, like, I can't keep up with all the names of these people, so I just call them by their Left 4 Dead names. Because some of these are very, very similar to, I guess, the special zombies that are in Left 4 Dead. Like, the hunters are the ones that, kind of jump out, they lurk in the shadows and jump out at you and, hold you down and rip you apart. They've got the bloaters, which is the big massive ones that'll if you shoot it, it's basically like a balloon. You pop it explodes, but it gets all that bile on you, and all the zombies are attracted toward the bile. But they also have some new ones though. Like they have one called an ogre. It's like one of these like really big he's a big boy, and it's more like an actual boss almost, like where like you're not really supposed to. You have to kill it in waves. Like you'll take it down to a certain amount of health, then he'll kind of burrow or like leave, and then he'll come back again when you least expect him. And you kind of have to shoot the specific target points on his body to do extra damage. There's like little parts where you can see where he's kind of oozing out that you want to target to kill him. Funny with that one, the ogre or whatever it was called. John and I were just playing by ourselves, and if you get caught by him, he grabs you and throws you. And this wasn't supposed to happen this way, but one grabbed John and threw him outside of the map completely, so he couldn't get back in to help me. So it was just me versus everything else, while John's outside of the map trying to shoot them and help me, but he can't get back in to help me with the objective. So I thought it was pretty funny. Not really supposed to happen, but it was a interesting experience for sure.
So I saw in one scene you're fighting humans. Is that the case in some of the levels?
Not that I have seen yet, anyway. I've gotten through probably 3 acts, and I want to say there's 5 acts, and then they added some DLC acts as well.
Yeah, it
Um,
looked like it was for one of the DLC trailers. Dude, there's some cool looking bosses in here. The level design looks cool. So you said there's 5 levels in the base game.
so it's
About.
5 acts, and those acts are divided into quite a few chapters, honestly.
Okay.
There's quite a bit of gameplay packed in the base game, but then even with the DLC, John and I actually just bought it because it's on sale for $10, all 3 DLCs.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I was like, let's do it. We're deep into this game. We might as well keep it going with it. Yeah, they added a couple of those DLCs added extra campaign levels as well. So quite a bit of content, and a lot of it is actually like very interactive because I feel like with Left 4 Dead, a lot of the time you were just kind of just shooting through hordes and then making it to the next point and getting in the safe room. There wasn't really a lot of like hunting for objectives or doing things like that. In this one, we just finished a level where like I was having to get all these like gas tanks and put them into this car or like all these briefcases with like valuable something or another and get them into this truck. Meanwhile, all these zombies are like hoarding toward us and trying to kill us while I'm doing the objective and whatnot. So there's some cool things as far as that's concerned. The one thing I do want to highlight though, and like kind of like the big difference between this and Left 4 Dead, I know they really wanted to make it a Left 4 Dead like, but you know me and cards, I love card games. They actually have implemented cards into this game, and they play a big role in how your cleaner or how your character, I guess, his power level or like how much he can mow through these zombies. So you can collect cards through either getting there's briefcases or there's I think duffel bags throughout levels, and if you get out of the level with a duffel bag, you unlock a card, which is pretty cool. These cards do everything from like give you like enhanced reload speed, give you more health, maybe give like some sort of team buff. Like if one of your teammates goes down, you get a big buff. In that case,
So are the cards one time use and then they're burned, or do you have your collection of cards and you can reuse them as many times as you want every
you
time
have
you
your
play the
collection of
game?
cards, and every time you actually make a there's almost like a barracks like before you jump into the game itself, where you kind of like there's like a firing range, and there's like it looks like it's a setup of a barracks to like prep you before you go in and start the campaign. And one of the like stands that you could go to, you can build a deck. So they give you a whole bunch of starter cards to make a starter deck. But as you collect more cards throughout your runs and playthroughs, you could create your own custom decks and maybe tailor it toward a specific cleaner's strengths. Because each cleaner has their own special abilities or I guess what they're better at than other cleaners. So for instance, the one that I have already came with enhanced reload speed, while John, on the other hand, his character already had the ability where if he got trapped by a zombie, he could automatically get out 1 time or 2 times or something like that. So it adds a little bit of a cool layer to it that's not just, hey, like pick a character that looks the coolest and then go in, kind of thing. It actually like has a little bit of you know, there's consequences if you don't pick the right character. There's also, you can tailor your deck of cards to the character that you have.
So so it sounds like you enjoy the game. So why do you think this game got all the negative backlash? Now I get it. There's a lot of gamers that are just whiny and just love to hate, even if it's you could give them the awesomest game in the world, and they're still going to be like, "Oh, it's stupid. I didn't like this. I didn't like that." So, do you think that it just was a snowball effect of a couple of haters, or do you think there are legitimate flaws with this game that warrants the negative backlash?
Yeah, that's a great question because I have really enjoyed it. Like John and I played until I think maybe 2 a.m. one night, just like burning through a couple of the acts of the campaign. And to me, it feels very much like a Left 4 Dead. Like it scratches that itch for me. And so I'm not sure where the backlash has come from. I'm like, I feel like a lot of like the special zombies they've created are really cool. I know they've mimicked some like to a T with Left 4 Dead, but they've also introduced some new ones that are really fun. So it's really interesting to me. Maybe the card aspect got people upset, but or something like that, but that really doesn't play a huge factor into the games or the. I mean, it does in the higher levels, but I mean, we were just playing on recruit just to burn through the campaign and just see it one time.
Yeah.
And honestly, the cards didn't play the biggest of factors in that aspect. So yeah, I'm not really sure where the backlash is because I've really enjoyed it and I want other people to play it with John and I. So I don't get it. Maybe we could read a couple of the Steam reviews. Maybe see.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I'm kind of curious. Honestly.
Here we go, man. Rolling into the darkest depths of Steam reviews.
Yeah. Say, I might regret actually telling you to do that.
All right, this person has 40 hours logged. They said the game fun, but only takes one bad teammate to hold the whole game hostage. This game babies the player, so it doesn't allow you to kick player. They should be a force or vote system forcing player. In short, this game yada yada yada. In short, this game forces you to play 2 to 4 players, and one player can waste your time because the game won't let a vote or force system be in. So you're gonna get what the heck? This person gave it a negative review despite playing 40 hours and enjoying it, all because they can't kick somebody off their team.
Yeah, that's one very specific like feature of a game, man.
Yeah,
that's
dude,
like,
that doesn't mean the whole game's bad just because you can't kick somebody off your team. If anything, just have a private game with only your friends then, and don't let a
that's what John and I
rando
did.
into your squad.
It's great that was brought up because John and I were playing with randoms for a while, and then we kind of got tired of some of the randoms because they really didn't know what they were doing. So John and I were like, let's just do a private game and we'll get bots. And the bots do a good job of getting you up when you're down, and shooting zombies off you if they need to. Like, so yeah, I mean, there's definitely other options. People in reviews are just mind-boggling to me, and it's funny that Steam just doesn't seem to really like. It is the Wild West of Steam, really.
And it's just funny because it seems like people glom on to one thing, and then immediately they give the whole game a bad review. Like, it crashed on me once. Like, this game's horrible. Like, maybe you just got too many programs open on your computer at once when you're trying to launch the game. I never got that. Like back in the day, I get it. Computers used to be way different, and there used to be a lot more compatibility issues. But nowadays, like, rarely do I have games crashing, or rarely do I have like technical issues of just running the game. So anytime I go into a Steam forum, or not a Steam forum, but the Steam reviews, or even the Steam forums, and I see all these people complaining about crashes, it's like, what is it? Like, computers are so optimized these days, and there's so much like standardized that like compatibility is not that much of an issue anymore. So what is going on? Are you trying to like, do you have a 50 million tabs open in Chrome and then you're trying to play a game too? Like, what is going on? Like, sometimes I suspect it's the person, or maybe they got a virus or something and it has nothing to do with the game, but yet people will blame it on the game.
I feel like that has to be the case because I have not run into many instances when I boot a Steam game where it just continually crashes on me. Unless it's like an older game that maybe wasn't as optimized as well. But anything new lately, I have not had any issues.
Dude, listen to some of these other reviews. All right, this guy has 128 hours into this game, and he gave it a negative.
That's a lot of time.
He gave it a negative review. He said, "I was one of those people that wanted this game to succeed, but it didn't. It failed me and everyone who believed in it." Oh my God, dude, these melodramatic freaking people. And this guy gave it a negative review, and he has 500 hours on record. After playing this game for a few hundred hours, arranging broken decks that make me immortal, and seeing how the recent update is considered to be the last official update, this game is now officially dead. So if I were you, don't even bother getting this game anymore. It's like, dude, first of all, if you don't like a game, why would you spend 500 hours of your life playing a game you did not like? Clearly you liked it. Clearly you enjoyed it. So why are you giving a negative review?
Well, and he's complaining about the aspect making him invulnerable. He's like having a combination of cards. Okay, well then don't put that combination of cards together in your deck if you don't want to feel invulnerable. There are ways where you could just make your own custom deck of cards. So he's making himself invulnerable in that
Yeah,
aspect.
dude.
That's on him.
Just because there's a build that makes you invincible and that makes the game not fun, just don't use that build. Like, exactly. Like, just, oh my God. And so many people are just like, the game's dead, the game's dead, the game's dead. Turtle Rock abandon it, Turtle Rock abandon it. Dude, game studios are not going to work on the same game for eternity. Like, they're going to make the game, release some updates. It still runs. You can still play it. It's not dead. It's not like the servers are shut down. They're going to go work on another game. But like, people have to be all, I don't even know like how to term that, but I see that all the time. It's like, the developers have abandoned this game. They only spent 5 years of their life on it, working probably 60 hours a week on it. Like, how dare they abandon it? Oh my God, dude. All right, I got to get out of these Steam reviews. I'm getting riled up.
Yeah, and you can't say they abandoned it when they added literally 3 DLC packs to the game as well. So they released the base game, but they also released a complete annual pass with multiple expansions that include other campaign acts, which people have enjoyed looking at some of the Xbox reviews I saw.
That's what, man. Yeah.
All that energy is now turned to rage for Mike.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to check this game out. It looks cool, and it looks like something I like to play. I really liked Left 4 Dead. The monsters and the bosses look gross and slimy and awesome. It looks super bloody. I'll check it out. It plays
super smooth as well. Like, the shooting feels excellent. Like, it's a super smooth experience. Like, I really enjoy it. I mean, yeah, Steam reviews aside, it's a great game. Like, if you trust our opinion, we think you should play it.
Cool. All right, man. Any other final words on Back 4 Blood?
Nothing on Back 4 Blood. I'm churning through Code Veronica right now, but that's a conversation I'm going to save for another time. I'm making my way through. I'm hoping I don't make any mistakes along the way, though.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, you've been playing a couple games though, and I'm excited to hear about both of them because one of them I've played and one of them I'm very interested in.
Yeah, man. So speaking of Code Veronica, Resident Evil, and survival horror, you recommended this game to me, highly recommended it to me. It's called Signalis, and it's an indie developed game. I think as you mentioned on an earlier episode, only 2 people made it, and it is heavily inspired by the original Resident Evil series on PlayStation 1, which is music to my ears. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, all right, I am the target demographic for this game, so I'm about to check it out. So it has a very unique art style, almost like anime style cutscenes, which are really cool, really freaky and weird. And then when you're actually playing it, it is 3-dimensional, but it's kind of like this isometric view, so it almost has like this 2D look to it, and it's intentionally very pixelated. And if you want to go all out old school, you can turn on a CRT mode or like an old school TV mode that makes it look like a tube TV. And while I was playing, I did cycle between that off and on. And yeah, there's just something about those old CRT TVs that obscure things in a way that kind of gets your imagination going. Because when I had that mode turned off, things were still pixelated, but I had a better sense of what was going on. But when I had that tube TV mode on, which puts on like fake scan lines and kind of balloons the TV, because those old tube TVs, they were not flat, they were round. So things kind of rounded at the edges. And that used to be freaky in games because it kind of made it hard to tell what was around the screen and made you focus more on the middle of the screen. Sure. So yeah, so sometimes I'd go in a dark room with that CRT mode on, and it just, my imagination would be like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And I'd go look at it and I'd be like, okay, it's just a table. Never mind. It's not something crazy. Anyway, yeah, this game is oozing with atmosphere. There's some scenes where you're in like a first person mode, and again, it's like that PlayStation 1 graphics, which are just so trippy. They were trippy back then, and now like it really, like I said, it really gets your imagination going and kind of takes you into an alternate universe when things don't look hyper realistic. That's why I love old school games. So the story is super freaky. you wake up on a ship. You're a replicant, so it's basically almost like a future. What's the word I'm looking for? Not. I can't think of the name. I don't know. Kind of like Soviet Russia or something, or
Okay.
or like a future Nazi Germany or something. Like it's
This is like Wolfenstein.
yeah, I can't think of the word of. Basically, it's a world where everyone is for the people, for the governments. We're all about the governments. Like you as an individual are nothing. Just do your duty and stay in line and for
almost
the country.
a dictatorship of sorts.
Yeah, almost like a dictatorship. There's another word I'm looking for, but I cannot think of it. Anyway, so that's the type of world you live in. So you wake up as a replicant on a spaceship, and basically what you find out is these spaceships are sent out with one human and one replicant. And these race of people, they have replicants that basically do the grunt work of everything. They have no feeling. They are basically androids. They're made of part flesh, part machine, but they're treated as just worker robots essentially. So you are the replicant on this spaceship, and your human is nowhere to be found. And these spaceships are sent off to just explore space, try to find alien life, try to find planets that you can colonize. And you are sent on a one-way mission. So you're reading all the mission briefings and stuff, and basically all the mission briefings are meant for the human, but you're reading them as the replicant. And it basically says, like, do your honor for your country, go out and explore, and hopefully you'll find something. If not, you will eventually run out of food. You will eventually run out of stuff to repair your ship, and your ship will start to fall apart. And eventually radiation will start leaking out, and it'll slowly start killing you, and you'll slowly start starving to death. So basically that's
dark stuff.
Yeah, it's dark. The whole game is super dark. Even the ending is bleak. Like there's no happiness in this game whatsoever. But I gravitate towards that. For some reason, like depressing games actually make me happy. It's a weird reverse psychology thing, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it's very grim, and the mission briefings are like, just off yourself. Don't try to ration your food. Don't try to eat your replicant's flesh because it's poisonous. Just either have your replicant kill you or go in your sleep pod and just stay in there and sleep until you die. Anyway, so you're the replicant, your human is nowhere to be found, and you end up leaving the ship, and you find that the world is different now. All the replicants have started getting sick and basically turned into these monsters that attack you. And you're on a mission to find your human. And it's about an 8-hour game, an 8 to 10 hours. Very, very much like Resident Evil. I mean, yes. Save systems similar, the inventory management, just the puzzles, everything is oozing old school survival horror. And you basically go from area to area. So you'll be given a new map, and then you explore, solve all the puzzles, and then you eventually move on to the next map. Now I do what I always do in survival horror games, and that is I conserve ammo. Because you're given limited resources. You're not given enough ammo in any survival horror game to actually defeat all the enemies. So you have to pick and choose your battles. So it became a fine strategy. Oh, and if you kill the enemies, you have to burn their bodies, similar to the original remake, or the remake of the original Resident Evil. Otherwise, eventually they'll come back to life. And you're given very limited flares to burn the bodies with. So it got to the point when I realized that, I was like, I'm not even going to waste my bullets. So I spent most of the game not killing any enemies, just dodging them.
Yeah,
so
that's impressive.
I had stockpiled so much ammo by the end of the game. But anyway, yeah, so the only time I would kill enemies is if there was a central hallway that I would have to travel across a lot. If it's just a room I only have to go in once, I'm not going to kill the enemies because I can just grab what I need real quick, get out of there. But if it's a hallway or something that's full of enemies where I'm going to be traveling back and forth, that's worth killing the enemies and burning them. So yeah, I was stockpiling health and ammo, and turns out I really didn't need to do that because at the end of the game, I just had all that that ammo left over. I thought there was going to be like a bunch of epic boss fights, which there was. There was a handful of boss fights, but not enough to warrant how much I was hoarding ammunition.
No, I feel like I killed more than I probably should, and I still had plenty at the end to get the job done.
Yeah, I was worried at first, but they do give you a lot of health and ammo. But yeah, it's such a cool game. I recommend it to anybody that's a fan of survival horror. And Mitch, I'm very curious.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you actually beat the game?
I think so. Maybe I I guess you know more than me now, so maybe not.
All right, so I did consult a strategy guide on a couple puzzles I got stuck on.
Okay.
And what I found out is when you beat the game, that's not the actual ending. And they don't tell you this anywhere in the game. So had I not looked at the strategy guide, I never would have known that.
I beat the game, yes. I do remember it now, yes.
Okay, so you started a new game over?
Yes.
So the weird thing about this game is once you beat the game, you're given a very unsatisfying ending. And you're like, what the heck, that's it? Well, what you're actually supposed to do is go back to the main menu and start a new game. And when you start a new game, you'll start in a spaceship again. But it's different. And you'll actually realize that it's just showing you a little more of the story that you weren't given at the beginning of the game, and then after you leave the spaceship, it picks up where the game quote unquote ended when you supposedly beat the game. So when you start a new game, you're not starting a new game. You're basically playing an entire new chapter that's the real ending chapter. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're actually given the full ending.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that, and then it triggered my mind. I was like, yes, because I remember being super confused about it, and then I feel like there was some, like, either I looked at the guide like you did and it said, hey, start a new game, or maybe some part of me was like, I think they're like highlighting that you should start a new game, so I'm gonna click it and see what happens. But yeah, I did get the real ending, and yeah, I'm glad I did, because that would have been a bummer.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. As I mentioned on an earlier episode, even before I played this, I picked up a physical copy because they were selling them for $30 on Amazon, and I was like, I have a feeling this is going to be one of those games I want to keep in my collection forever. And also, I believe that this is going to be one of those games that's probably has a low print run. As far as I know, you can only get it at Amazon. And this might be something that'll be a rare find years down the road.
Yeah, we've highlighted this game on multiple podcasts now, so that we are 100% into this, and this is probably one that we really recommend over a lot that we've talked about right now.
Yeah.
And it's short too. It's a very short experience. It's creepy. It's fun. It's, if you like Resident Evil, you're gonna like this.
Yeah, and it does not hold your hand. As we both mentioned, we had to reference a strategy guide to get through some parts, and it just goes back to that what we've been talking about, that older games just were way more difficult by nature.
I was thinking about that. So when I was playing Code Veronica, I was like, man, like when this game first came out, like people had no sort of like reference of where to go or what to do, because there's no like easy hit Google and find exactly. I'm just reading through an IGN thing just verbatim, and like they didn't have that. And when the game first came out,
yeah, you had to buy the strategy guide. It was almost like a part of their business model. Like, here's the game that you'll never be able to beat on your own. Here's the $20, $30 strategy guide. And I remember going to the video game stores and buying a game, and they would ask, do you want the strategy guide? We got it. Mm-hmm. That was a big thing. But now, fortunately, there's the internet, and yeah, all the answers are online and free strategy guides online.
Yeah, my buddy still references his Ocarina of Time strategy guide whenever he goes back and plays Zelda.
That is awesome. He still has it, the actual booklet?
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. I did have a strategy guide for Ocarina of Time as well. That one, there's no way I would have beaten that as
Those
a
go
kid
for a pretty
without
penny
one.
nowadays too.
Huh?
Those are actually they go for a pretty penny nowadays, and
bet.
they're valuable.
I bet. I mean, I go to half price books because they have tons of used video games, but they also have a huge shelf of strategy guides. And some of them they're just trying to get rid of because nobody really wants them. Like, who wants a Battlefield 3 strategy guide? But there's other stuff, more sought after games like the Final Fantasies or the Zeldas and stuff that, yeah, people want those strategy guides. And then they'll have like strategy guides for Elder Scrolls Skyrim or something, and it's like this freaking
Yeah,
thick.
it's like a novel.
Like, first of all, who wrote this? How many people wrote this? And was it just some strategy guides were official strategy guides and some were unofficial. So I always wondered with strategy guides, how much input from the actual developer did they have in making that? Because they're typically completely thorough and they've got all the secrets and everything you could imagine in there. I'm like, they had to have somebody who
Had
worked
to.
on the game letting them know about all this stuff. But some of those unofficial ones probably were actually people just sitting there and meticulously playing the game as much as they could to figure things out. And then they have to take all the screenshots and then they have to write it in a way that makes sense and flows. Like, even with Signalis, I was doing some stuff out of order, and then the person in the strategy guide was kind enough to be like, to save time, go to this room first, then go to this room, then go to this room. And that way you're not going backwards and be like, oh, now I got to go back to this room. Now I got to go back to this room. So yeah,
So that's crucial, and because you're not having to run into zombies on multiple occasions,
Yeah.
or replicants. Yeah, it basically just saves you from having to double back.
exactly.
Running.
But somebody had to think about that and then put it together in the most optimal order. So yeah,
Going
strategy
back
guides are
to,
totally fascinating to me. I would love to know what all goes into them because I'm sure it is a lot.
Yeah. Going back to half price books, though, I think I know my phone is listening to me because I go to my TikTok the other day. I know you've talked about half price books before, and I have all these TikToks about people talking about finds they had from half price books. I'm like, what the heck is
Oh my god.
this?
Yeah, if anybody's listening on you, it's TikTok.
That's actually a great point. There's a lot. That's a great point.
Yeah, so that's funny. That's a whole nother conversation though. Anyway, let's see if I have any final words on Signals. I don't think so, but it's a great game.
We may
Great
bring it up
recommendation.
again. It may be this podcast's game. We've already brought it up on, I think, 3 now. So
Yeah. All right. So the other thing I've been playing is I just started it, Metal Hellsinger. And this is a first-person shooter similar to Doom. It's like fast-paced first-person shooter, demon-killing action with heavy metal music. But the difference here is that it's a rhythm game. So you have to shoot all the enemies on beat. And the longer you can maintain shooting enemies on the beat, the more your score multiplier goes up, the more perks and rewards you get. So I see this as it's not necessarily a new trend, but it's branching out into other genres. Because you think about it, 15, 20 years ago, which is hard to believe this, but 15, 20 years ago when Guitar Hero came out and became this huge craze, everybody was about the rhythm games. And even before that, there was Dance Dance Revolution and those style games in the arcades where you had a bunch of square pads and then the music would play and you'd have to step on the pads in a certain pattern. And man, I remember kids in the mall being so into that. Like, there was a niche crowd that loved to go to the malls and just show off their Dance Dance Revolution skills, wearing their giant baggy kick pants and trying to be extra fancy, small crowd around them. And then, yeah, I think somebody probably saw that and was like, this can go mainstream. And then Guitar Hero happened. And then Rock Band happened, and next thing you know, the whole world was introduced to how fun it is to play along to a song in a rhythm.
Right.
Whether you're actually playing the instrument or not, or just playing whatever pattern they're showing you on the screen. But it even goes back farther than that. There are so many rhythm games, which we'll get into shortly. But just want to touch on Metal Hellsinger, just kind of give you my initial impressions. It's awesome. Well, I can imagine the people who made this game were playing Doom, which has amazing music in its own right, and probably accidentally found themselves shooting to the beat, just rocking to that what is it, Mick Gordon, is he the guy who made the Doom music, rocking to his soundtrack. Next thing you know, they're shooting all the demons to the beat, and then they're like, this could just be part of the gameplay. What if we made it to where you're supposed to shoot to the beat? So it's cool, the music's great, the art's great. It's not quite a AAA title as Doom, but I'm definitely going to play through this one and let you guys know my final thoughts when I beat it. So, Mitch, you recently... Go ahead, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Were you playing on Steam or Xbox Game Pass?
Xbox Game Pass. So, yes, it is a game that you can play if you got Game Pass. So, the first thing I thought of was you were telling me a few episodes back that you had played...
Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush, yes. So that was incorporating rhythm into a third-person hack-and-slash game. This is incorporating rhythm into a first-person shooter, which is not the only first-person shooter doing this. So doing a little digging, there's another game called BPM, which in the music world typically stands for beats per minute. It's how you measure rhythm, or the time signature, but this stands for bullets per minute, and is another rhythm-based first-person shooter, which looks pretty cool and pretty stylized. So I think after I get through Metal Hellsinger, this will be next up for me to check out. And then apparently there's even another one called Gun Jam that's not out yet, but is also another rhythm-based first-person shooter. So this is becoming a trend I'm seeing.
It's becoming an entire subgenre or its own genre in that, right? Of rhythm-based shooters or beat-em-ups.
Yeah. Now, Gun Jam, I don't know. This may be good. It's got that kind of cel-shaded art style, which I'm not the hugest fan of. But I will still get my hands on it and give it a try when it releases. There's still no release date, so who knows when it's coming out. Oh, no, it just said out on April 19th, 2023. That's weird. The trailer says it comes out on April 19th, but the Steam page still says the release date is to be announced.
Yeah, I bet it's a TBA then, because they are... it got delayed. You know how games go.
Yeah, they probably released a trailer and they were like, wait, stop the presses. We need more time.
Yep.
All right, so speaking of rhythm games, you played Hi-Fi Rush. Were you really into... man, I almost said Guitar Center again. Were you really into Guitar Hero or Rock Band when that was just everywhere?
Heavily into Rock Band and Guitar Hero. I remember begging my dad to go and buy me the Guitar Hero kit, which obviously comes with the game plus the guitar. And I played a ton of that. I got pretty decent. You know, I was never like the people that could do Through the Fire and the Flames on Expert and just like jamming buttons like crazy. Like I don't even know how they could even figure that out, or 100% it, no less. But yeah, I was pretty deep into it. I think I owned every one of the mainstream Guitar Heroes, like the 1, 2, and 3, I think is all they did as far as like titled ones. But Rock Band was probably my favorite, though, because I was a drummer, obviously, as you know, growing up. I played drums and I took a lot of drum lessons. So when Rock Band came out, that was like the first one that had the whole thing. Like you could sing, you could play guitar, you could do the bass, and then you could play drums. And my friends would all come over and they had like this like Rock Band World Tour, they called it. And like it was like a ton of like songs that you had to play, and you had to go through all of them to beat the world tour or whatever. And you have to do them all over and over again. But we never beat it. But we'd be up late at night, and I would not let anybody else play drums because that was my thing.
So those games spanned a couple of console generations. What were you playing it on?
I was playing on the 360. I think I solely played it on the 360 growing up. 'Cause I think that was like the first generation they came out on, I want to say, is the 360 PS3 time period. But after that, I think I just kind of gravitated away from it. I went to college, and I'm like, I don't want to lug a guitar and a drum set to college, So, yeah, it kind of ended at that point. But I'd go back and play those games now. They were fun at the time.
Yeah. All right. I got a lot to talk about on this topic. Before I dive in further. Okay. So like you, it started to wane for everybody. Eventually, the fad died out, and I think I played it. I had played Rock Band and Guitar Hero a couple times back when it was really popping off. But it wasn't until after that had kind of fizzled that I was living with my roommate, Brennan, and I saw he had the guitars. And I was like, we were drinking that night. I'm like, let's play this stuff. So we busted it out, hooked up the guitars, and I think he had either the Rock Band or the Guitar Hero Metallica edition.
Oh, yeah.
And we freaking, for like a month, we were just jamming that. And that was a lot of fun. So even going back to it now, it's fun. Now, they tried to revive it, both those series. I think they made a reboot of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Did you play any of those reboots that came out just a few years ago?
Nope, never touched either of them, honestly. I think I'm just intimidated by like buying the actual like whole set with like getting, because if I'm going to go back to Rock Band, I don't have the drum set anymore. My dad, he loves to give away everything that I have ever owned, so that was given away to some garage sale or something. So it's like I would have to buy everything over again. So that's kind of what's deterred me.
To touch on that, so now you have all these people that are no longer into this stuff. So all these plastic guitars and drum sets and peripherals started flooding used video game stores and thrift stores and Goodwills and all that. And I remember going to video game stores that were like, we won't even take that stuff anymore. It was like, we just have too many guitars. We got a bin over there. They're all marked down for $1. There's 100 guitars sticking out of this metal basket. Like we're not taking any more trade-ins on the guitars. And then I'd go to Goodwill and the shelves would just be full of these guitars. But then, as it always happens, nostalgia starts hitting. So you go 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and all of a sudden people are like, remember how much fun we used to have in high school or in college playing Guitar Hero and Rock Band? We should go dig out our old 360 and then go down to Goodwill and see if there's some guitars there to get. So next thing you know, it went from Goodwill and the video game stores couldn't even give these things away to now they're flying off the shelves. And last year, when I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, there's that store, The Grid, which is a Goodwill store, but basically they send all their electronics to one store, so it's like only electronics at this Goodwill place. They have tons of video games and just like computers and stuff. I go there. I'm only there for like an hour, and people are coming in every so many minutes. You guys got any Guitar Hero guitars? You guys got any Guitar Hero guitars? No, we're all sold out. Can't keep them in stock. And then the one they did, or the one or two they did have in stock, they were selling for like $150 a piece.
I'm like, dude, a regular guitar.
I'm like, yeah, for real, I can get a real guitar for that price. And then, like I said, just a couple years ago, like I could get a dozen of these guitars for a nickel at Goodwill. So it's since started to die down finally. Like I think everyone's kind of that the nostalgia wave is starting to break. So they're starting to come back down in price.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at eBay right now, actually, and you can get one for anywhere from $20 to $40, which I think is a little more reasonable.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm telling you, last year they were like $150. But yeah, now the people who were feeling nostalgic got it. probably played it once and then turned around and sold it back or put it in their closet or threw it in the trash or whatever they did with it.
Yeah, I always was jealous of the people that had the Guitar Hero 3 one, because that had the Les Paul, the wireless Les Paul guitar. So like every one that I had always the jank ones that you had to plug in, and you could only go a certain amount back from the TV, and man, those wireless ones were smooth.
Yeah. I want to say my roommate had the wireless ones. But anyway, yeah, that whole thing's funny. Then they came out with the DJ Hero.
I had that, actually.
Was that any good?
It was cool. I enjoyed it. I think it wasn't as interactive as, the Guitar Hero or the or playing drums on Rock Band, but it was cool. It was like a little, like, you could scratch a little bit, and then you could, like, you just hit buttons, really. Like, you just hit them to the beat or, whatever it was. And then you had little, like, sections where you could freestyle and do whatever you want. So you could just, like, kind of scratch and hit the buttons a lot and everything. And so it was fun for what it was. Had some good music on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one area I've steered clear on collecting, because, I mean, for one, I really don't have any nostalgia with it, other than playing with my roommate. That was a lot of fun. But who knows? I mean, if I come across a good, like, bulk lot of those games, and it's just crazy how many editions they release. There's, like, the Metallica edition, the Beatles edition, the Green Day edition, and they're probably, like, an Aerosmith one. Every band had their own edition, and then on top of these physical releases that had a bunch of songs, I know they just had like an endless online catalog of DLC.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that was great for the music industry, because now there's this new avenue that musicians can sell their music on, and yeah, it's crazy how much stuff they got out there, and there were so many knockoffs, and there was games that actually taught you how to play guitar instead of just being like a game. Like there's Ubisoft's Rocksmith.
That's what I was gonna say. That
uses similar mechanics, but to kind of gamify it, but it's really meant to actually teach you how to play guitar. And there's another one. I want to say it's called like Bandfuse or something. And I used that one for a while, and it was actually teaching me how to play guitar. So there a lot of good came out of that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that
there's
found
actually,
a love of music through that.
Yeah. There's actually a Harmonix, which is the people of Rock Band. They developed one in 2020 that was called Fuser, which was like almost like DJ Hero. You were a DJ essentially, and Fuser. Fuser is what it's called. I remember it now after you said something about fusing, because one of my buddies got it and he paid like full price for it, and we made fun of him because they're like, dude, that game's not gonna it'll be $20 in a month.
Yeah, there's this Kotaku article saying the death of DJ game Fuser is a huge bummer.
Yeah, I didn't think it didn't really get marketed very well, and I didn't even hear about it until my friend bought it. And
I want to see it. Does it have like a peripheral to it?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. I don't think so. I think it's. I want to say it doesn't, but
it does.
Oh,
maybe. I don't know. They're showing me some weird looking thing with like an iPhone sticking in it, but it looks like a proof of concept, like a 3D render. How do you play it then?
Yeah, you step behind the DJ booth to mix the craziest festival you've ever heard.
Let's see if there's a controller panel.
Yeah, they pulled it from stores and everything too, so...
They pulled it from stores?
Yeah, I'm reading
Was it like an online-only games where once the server shut down it was useless or something?
It looks like it, because it says... Online service was shut down December 19th, making the lifespan a little more than 2 years.
Okay, I am very curious about this, because I did not hear about this at all.
Players who already own Fuser will still be able to play the campaign and quick play with the DLC they have already acquired. But they cannot buy any if they don't have it by
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you can't get the DLC anymore, but... What did it release on?
Everything. It released on Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Windows, and PlayStation 4.
Okay. All right, I'm having trouble finding it. Showing me eBay, showing me everything, but was it a digital only game?
Are you looking for like a video, or like you're looking for to see if it's
just the game itself, like on eBay?
Oh, on eBay. I can show you the Epic Store page, but that's not.
Is it still up to buy?
It just is unavailable, but you can still like view what it is. Hold on.
Yeah, it's unavailable on PS4. We want to thank you for this is from PlayStation's website or the PlayStation Store, the game description. We want to thank you for mixing with us. On December 19th, we will be disabling Fuser's live services and all sales of the game as well as its DLC. Players who already own Fuser will still be able to play the campaign and quick play with any DLC they have already acquired. Thank you again for your support and for all the amazing mixes over the years. So yeah, it must have been like some live service game that is pretty much rendered useless once the server shut down. There's no physical release of the game. Wow, physical release for Fuser canceled. So it was so this game is dead. I mean, we often talk about games that die and you can no longer get them anymore. Fuser is absolutely one of those games.
Yeah, the Steam reviews, people can actually say it's dead instead of it.
Yeah, this is when you could say it's dead. For real. But anyway, wow, that's interesting. Harmonix, they did Guitar Center, right? Or not? Oh my God, I said Guitar Center. They did Guitar.
A great store. My dad loves that store.
They did Guitar Hero, right?
They did Rock Band.
Rock Band. All right, so what a lot of people don't know is before Guitar Hero and before Rock Band, Harmonix was already making rhythm games. They had this game called these games that basically were like Rock Band 1.0 and 2.0. They had on PlayStation 2, they released Frequency, which was basically like some weird like abstract roller coaster game where you would shift from track to track on the beat and it would change the music, and it was the exact same way that it's not exact, but it was basically like a rhythm game without a peripheral. You just had to play it with your controller. And then they released a sequel to that in 2003 called Amplitude, and then shortly after that, 2 years later, somebody had the aha moment, and they're like, well, what if we had Guitar Hero? How do you do the same thing that we were doing with those earlier games, but with a guitar? So, and I tried... Go ahead, what were you going to
say? They also released, kind of to go a little bit away from it, they released Dance Central, which was actually one of my favorite games to play on the Kinect when the Xbox Kinect was a thing, was as a motion capturing peripheral that the Xbox had. And I bring that over to my friends on when we'd have, like, I don't know, in high school, we'd have Friday night get-togethers with a bunch of us, and we'd be doing the Dance Central stuff, and that was a lot of fun, actually. That was probably one of the better, like, dance games. Like, I thought, like, they actually, like, captured your entire movement compared to a Just Dance, like, on the Wii, which really, you just really hold the Wii remote, and you can do anything, and it doesn't matter. They say, oh, great job.
Great job. You're waggling that Wii remote. I mean, looking at their game library, it's all music games. You got Frequency, Amplitude, then they did Karaoke Revolution, then Guitar Hero 2, Phase for iPod. There's a music-themed iPod game, looking at the description. Rock Band, Unplugged, The Beatles Rock Band, Lego Rock Band Mobile, Green Day Rock Band 3, and then, the Dance Central games. More Rock Band, more Dance Central. I forgot about this. That Amplitude game, that was like one of their very first ones, or was it their very first? That was their second one. I forgot they rebooted that or remade it on PlayStation 4. And I think that it was given away as a free game on PlayStation Plus. I have a copy of it. I've been meaning to check it out. So yeah, they revisited that. Now the problem,
Fantasia game.
What'd you say?
They did the Disney's Fantasia. Music Evolved.
Music Evolved. Man, yeah, they cornered the market on the music games. And then the last thing they made, the last couple games they have are Dance Central 2019, and their last game listed is Fuser in 2020. Ooh, I hope they're still around.
I still own a Kinect. I would play that Dance Central today if I could, honestly.
Yeah. When I went back and started buying Kinect games, because at one point I went back and got a PlayStation Move and then a PlayStation Kinect for dirt cheap. I got the Move at a pawn shop with everything for like $30, and then I got a Kinect at Goodwill for like $12. And Kinect games are so cheap. So I was like, let me check out the Kinect. We need to do a whole episode on the Kinect because that is a beast in of itself. But I told myself I need one Dance Central game at minimum. So I definitely picked one up, and I've played it, and it's a workout.
It is a workout, absolutely. You'll sweat.
Got one more thing to say about these rhythm games. So I've tried to go back and play Harmonix original games, Frequency and Amplitude, because I had never played them before. But these games were released before flat screen TVs. Oh. And flat screen TVs introduce latency much more than old CRT and tube TVs do. So any game that relies on perfect timing that was designed for a CRTV tube TV is not going to work on a modern TV. So if you try to play Frequency or Amplitude today, you're not going to be able to, because what you're seeing on the screen and what you're hearing in the music is not lining up with the buttons you're pressing because of the latency. So you'll always do a horrible job at it. And to remedy this situation on later consoles that were released after flat TVs became a thing, so like your Rock Band, your Guitar Heroes that came out on Xbox 360, or even more recently the Metal Hellsinger that I've been playing, you have to calibrate the game before playing to compensate for that latency. So there's typically a screen that will play music that you'll have to tap a button to the rhythm, and that way it calculates, all right, how much is this person reporting, like, from based on our calculation. So we're sending out the signal for the sound at this moment. This person's saying it's actually happening on their TV at this moment. So if it's like 140 milliseconds, then it's going to just calculate that in and then offset its calculations based on the latency of your TV. Like with Metal Hellsinger, there's a audio latency adjustment and a visual latency adjustment. And once you get that right, it's way easier to stay on beat. But old games that came out during the tube TV days, there was no need for that because it was almost instantaneous. So that's why playing Frequency or Amplitude today is almost impossible unless you have a tube TV. And same thing with the very first rhythm game I ever played, Parappa the Rapper, on PlayStation 1. I recently came back and beat that game. It was the very first game I got with my PlayStation, and I played it years ago. Absolutely loved it. It's a great game. Went back and tried to play it in 2015 on a flat screen TV, not knowing what I just said at the time. And I was like, man, I cannot stay on beat. Like, it's just, I'm failing over and over and over again. So eventually I just started intentionally playing off beat, and that was the only way I could actually get it. And I went through the whole game and beat it that way, but it was not a pleasant experience. And I thought
more impressive than beating it the original way.
Yeah. So, and I was like, what the hell, man? I don't remember this game being this bad when I was a kid. Like, this is totally off. This doesn't feel right. And then later on, I found out, it was because back then I was playing it on a tube TV, which it was designed for. So yeah,
right.
That issue wasn't there. Parappa the Rapper, great game. Parappa the Rapper 2, not so much. I didn't like the music in the second one. I beat that right after, in 2015. After I beat Parappa the Rapper 1, I beat the second one, but it was nowhere near as good as the first one. Whew, anyway, I feel like I've been going on and on about these rhythm games.
No, it was good. It was good talk.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other good stories about your Rock Band days? Or
No, I just remember all of us in the basement, just grinding till the wee hours and trying to get somebody to sing too, because we needed a singer and nobody wanted to sing, and but it helped our score if we had the full band playing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Back in the day, it was keeping us out of trouble, as we talked about last week. We'd be down in the basement just playing some good old Rock Band. My dad loved hearing that.
yeah, learning rhythm, learning music. I mean, it does teach you coordination and rhythm. So yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get your dad to play it, since he is a guitar player?
No, I don't think he was always very curious, and he would watch me, but he didn't ever want to actually play it. He's like, "Well, you're just pressing buttons. You're not actually strumming a guitar."
He's right there. He's right there.
Yeah, he really liked I had the Beatles Rock Band, and he really liked listening to that because they had all the good classics.
Oh yeah, Dad's a huge Beatles fan, so I can imagine that. But it did really bring guitar playing to the masses, because the guitar is a very difficult instrument to learn. It takes years and years of practice.
Yeah.
So to lower that entry point and just create a game where anybody can sit there and enjoy playing guitar without having to spend years and years to learn it and gamify it, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, revolutionary. I think we're good to wrap it up there, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We are right at the 1 hour mark.
So I got an appointment in 15 minutes. I'm going to be sprinting to it.
Oh, snaps. I forgot about that. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're also on all the social medias. What are those, Mitch?
Yep.
If you want to rattle those off real fast.
Absolutely, yeah. Our Twitter is @thehillsaresilent. Instagram is Instagram /hillsaresilent. Our YouTube, as Mike says, is @thehillsaresilent. Our TikTok is @thehillsaresilent podcast. Send us an email, hillsaresilent@gmail.com. We'll catch you in the next episode.